What is going on, everybody? It is Jackson from JD Baseball Show and Dinger Dudes. And today I have a very special interview. I am joined by 2020 World Series champion and 13-year MLB veteran, Jake McGee. Mr. McGee, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this interview. How's your summer going and just how's life going after baseball?
No, thanks for having me. I'm glad I'm on here. Just in the summer, it's been a good summer. Been retired for a couple of years and coaching my daughter's softball teams here and there, and being around kind of little league, and then just started my own pitching lesson business too, and joined one of the clubs here who have been around for years, and it was a pretty easy transition. Just been doing probably 4 to 6 lessons a week and helping out the youth here and working with a couple of college kids here and there too. So it's been fun to do that.
It's great to hear that, and I love hearing post baseball playing career transition stories. So I'm glad that it's gone on the easier side for you. So I do want to kind of get into some questions about your career. I want to throw it back to 2004, which is actually the year I was born. You're an 18-year-old kid drafted by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at the time. What do you remember most about your early days as a pro ball player in the minors? Was it exciting, intimidating, or a little bit of both?
For me, it was pretty intimidating coming from. I grew up in Sparks, and I was graduating. I was only 17, so when I think about it now, I signed, and went to Florida, and then by the time it started the short season, Tampa only had the short season teams. They didn't have like the
Mhm.
Gulf Coast League yet, so a lot of teams it was their second or third team. So when I went there, majority of guys were like 25, 26, and I was just turning 18 years old. But I went out and ended up getting a pitcher of the year that year, and then each year just kind of built from that. But it was definitely different going from Reno to Princeton, West Virginia, and playing the Appalachian League.
So I kind of want to piggyback off of that experience. You know, a lot of pro ball players have a decision to either go play college ball, D1, D2, D3, JUCO, or sign with a pro team. What was the decision just signing with a major league team rather than going to play ball in college?
For me, I kind of just wanted to go play professionally. I was leaning more towards I signed my intent to go to UNLV, and I
Mhm.
don't know if I wanted to go even 3 years in college at the time. I was leaning towards maybe going to a JUCO for a year or two. But I know I got to know the scout who recruited me pretty well out of Reno, and he just, he's like, "All right, if you want to go play pro ball, we'll draft you in the fifth round and get started." So I kind of made a decision in that way, and they had my college paid for too, to where if it didn't work out, I kind of had a fallback plan in that way. So I was just excited to go play professional ball and learn from all the coaches and you know go and have fun.
It's great to hear that perspective because you know a lot of former interviewees they talk about the decision about going to play college ball or draft cap when it comes to draft capital. So I kind of want to continue on the conversation about starting with the Tampa Bay Rays organization. I mean, you made your major league debut in 2010, and obviously you became a fan favorite in Tampa Bay. A lot of my friends are Tampa Bay fans, and they were texting me super excited that you were getting on the podcast. And I wanted to ask you from like a reliever standpoint, especially in the major leagues, how did it feel the first time you were handed the ball in the ninth inning? Were you super excited, nervous, and again a little bit of both?
For my call up, I was pretty nervous when my call up in 2010. There was a lot of veterans on the team with the Rays, and then I remember I think the day before I got called up, Tampa had a walk off against the Yankees and took like a half game lead in the AL East, and very lucky to be brought up in that kind of part of the season, and we ended up winning the AL East. But just my debut, I tell people I felt like my legs were jello, like couldn't like focus on anything. And then one of the older relievers, I think it was Randy Choate or Grant Balfour, were
Hmm.
like, "You're the only person who's going to remember your debut. Like if you have a long career, no one's going to bring up your first ever outing." So I kind of took that to heart too, and I'll always remember it, but some other people won't.
I mean, it's great. You got a sense of mentorship, especially from veteran guys like Grant Balfour, big fan of him, and Randy Choate, former St. Louis Cardinal,
Yeah,
which I'm a
Cardinal.
personal fan of. But I did want to ask you this. I mean, obviously, you said that the Rays won the American League East that season, and you had multiple seasons of experience playing playoff baseball. Can you describe, from a player standpoint, what the difference was in the atmosphere from playoff baseball to a regular season game?
Yeah, I was very fortunate to play in a lot of playoffs and then the World Series in 2020. But the playoffs is a whole different animal, just heightened wise with the fans and the energy. And you just feel like there's more pressure. There's always way more media in the clubhouse and around. I think the first time, my first playoff game was the same thing. Like I was super nervous and like couldn't feel my legs. It was very surreal in that moment. But then after that, you kind of get used to it a little bit. It's almost like your debut when you have the second debut is in the playoffs and World Series or whenever that is. So.
Again, the only reason that I would necessarily experience that is through MLB The Show or any sort of video game like that. I mean, I get super excited when I make the postseason with my team. So, it's great to hear it from a major league player standpoint. And you mentioned prior, because you talked about a lot of people might not remember your debut besides you, if you have like a long, illustrious career. And you left the Tampa Bay Rays and you went and signed with the Colorado Rockies on a multi-year deal from sea level to mile high altitude. What was the difference playing in Tropicana Field to Coors Field? Because that ballpark is very, you know,
Oh
interesting
yeah,
playing.
yeah. I know it's a lot different. And yeah, when I got traded over to the Rockies that one off season, and then played there and had pretty good success with the Rockies, considering how some of the relievers, all their stats are pretty inflated because it's really hard to pitch there. You have to change your eyesight in different pitches and different ways, and you have to take care of your body really well. And the ball travels way differently. And a big thing I tell a lot of people is that the outfield is just so big to where if you give up a bloop single, another bloop single, and that guy's on third base, it's second and third, or he might even score. And then you give up miss down the middle, and you give a 3-run homer. But going from Tampa to there, the Tampa was so nice because there was same weather. You weren't getting rained out. It's very consistent as like baseball players, just superstition wise. What you're getting to when you come to the field every day. It's not like an outdoor ballpark.
I had a previous conversation with Brandon Moss. He was on the podcast last month, and he was telling me that Coors Field is the hardest, personally for him as a hitter, to play in. So it's great to hear from a pitcher's
Mhm.
perspective, and I know it's not a pitcher's favorite place to play when pitching. So I do want to continue your career in 2020 after the Rockies. You signed with the Dodgers, and you mentioned previously that you won a World Series in 2020. And I get a lot of mixed reactions about the 2020 season, whether you're playing overseas or in the major leagues. I want to ask you, 2020 was a weird year. Obviously, a shortened season, 60 games, but you thrived with the Dodgers. You guys won a World Series in 2020. What clicked for you that year, and what was it like winning a World Series during your career?
That year, what clicked big time is the Dodgers have a really good support staff and trainers and things like that. To where when I got let go by the Rockies,
Mhm.
a lot of their people saw the video and they're like, "Oh, this would be a decently easy fix." So they worked on like my hips and my knee and movement. And once I got there, they're like, "Just stick with what you've done in the past, throwing high fastballs, and we'll put you in the right situations to succeed." Because I played with Brandon Gomes, a GM there in Tampa, and then knew Freeman there. So when they called, it felt comfortable right away. But that season overall was very weird with all the fake fan noise, and then being at we're in the bubble and we're literally could only go to the field, back to the hotel. You could only eat all the food there. You couldn't order out food, even when everyone would order boxes. You'd have to wait almost to the next day to get them because they would have to sanitize them and all that. It was almost harder than the playoffs in general, and I feel like it was just a lot different. I don't. Hopefully, no one else will have to experience that going forward.
I hope nobody else has to experience that going forward either. I mean, 2020 was a weird year for everybody, especially from a fan's perspective. I mean, it was really weird seeing cardboard cutouts, throughout the stands. And it was unfortunate watching it at home. I really wish I could have gone to those games. But it's good to hear. I mean, you had highlights during 2020. You won a ring. So, I mean, by the way, do you have that like displayed anywhere? Or do you only bring it out for like poker games or like family events or something like that?
I only bring it out here and there. I wore it to an interview when I did it with a TV show here locally. I brought it to there because they're big Dodgers fans, and as you don't bring it out too much, it usually just stays locked away.
Hmm. It should stay locked away. It's a very prized possession. Now, I do want to talk about, your transition to an NL West rival. I mentioned before you were teammates with Dominic Leone in San Francisco in 2021. You had a fantastic year. You were brought back as the closer. How did it feel to be trusted with that role again later on in your career in such a historic baseball city?
That was a big part of me signing with the Giants. I had a couple other offers from like the Braves and a couple 1 year deals with I think the Yankees and a couple other ones, but the Giants were like, look, if you come here, you'll get the opportunity to close, and it'll be your job to take it and run with it. And that was the best opportunity considering my other offers. And I was in Reno, Nevada, so it was only 3.5, 4 hour drive. So it made all the sense. And then the younger coaching staff I liked a lot too. And then when I went there, I just took it and ran with it. I think that was my best year of my whole career, and it was towards the end of it. It's pretty cool.
It's great to hear that side because I had a previous interview with Ty Buttrey and he was talking about like the mental approach of it about being in a certain position in the bullpen. I mean, a setup guy, early relief guy, in a closer role. So it's great to hear that side from an illustrious closer as yourself. And I kind of want to ask a fun question related to that. And I love
Yeah.
throwing in interactive questions. Imagine building your dream bullpen and you have to include yourself, five
Mhm.
guys from any era. Who would be there with you?
From any era, I would say, let's see, I put Billy Wagner as a closer, Rivera as a setup. I would be the other setup lefty, and then let's see who else. In the bullpen wise, I'm trying to think. I'd probably put in Kenley Jansen in there too,
Hmm.
and then Craig Kimbrell playing against him. It was cool playing against him when we were coming up in like AAA too, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to be a big deal and stuff." And then now he's got what 300 something saves. It's pretty cool to see
Yeah.
some of these guys, and someone's still playing like Kenley Jansen's still playing crazy.
Future Hall of Famers for sure. And I know other guys on the other podcasts I do, Dinger Dudes, they're all Braves fans. I get a lot of hate for being a Cardinals fan. Like, you guys haven't won a World Series in 14 years. I'm like, how many rings do you guys have? That's the only argument I can really present
Oh
at this
yeah,
point. But they'll be excited to hear Kenley Jansen. I mean, former Brave for a short stint, but Craig Kimbrell, one of their favorite players, are Craig Kimbrell of all time. So it's great to
oh
hear
yeah.
that. And I want to kind of throw a final question about your career, and then get into some more fun questions. As you look towards the end of your career, out of your 13-year MLB career, you signed with the Milwaukee Brewers. How did your mindset shift? Was it more about mentoring the younger guys or enjoying the ride or both in your closing season?
My closing season is more just kind of enjoying the ride, and I when I got let go by the Giants, I was at 599 strikeouts, and that was
Hmm.
one of the goals I wanted to at least get one more strikeout and finish the season and do it in that way. But once I was with the Brewers, I had like 5 good outings and then had like one bad one, and then they let me go. And then I thought I was going to be done for the year, and then I wake up the next morning and they're like, "Oh, the Washington Nationals claim you, the first team to chance to claim you." And I was like, "Oh crap, I got to fly to DC tomorrow." So
Hmm.
went there, and it was actually kind of cool and an experience. By the time I got there, I was like, "Oh, I think I'm towards the end of my career. Like my knee and hip were bothering me a little bit," and it's kind of full circle because I came up with Tampa, and Davey Martinez was the manager, and Jim
Hmm.
Hickey was my first pitching coach in the big leagues. So it was kind of like full circle and felt right, and kind of my choice to retire. I didn't feel like I had to grind it out in AAA for a couple more years, and
Hmm.
it just felt right to stop playing then.
Career came full circle moment, especially with Dave Martinez, fantastic manager. So it's great to hear that side of closing baseball because I also do want to ask you, and I like hearing about this, and I want to get more of an in-depth perspective from your career about transition from post-playing career to obviously what you do now. You do pitching performance, is that correct?
Yeah, performance pitching, envy, and just been doing it in town. And then it's at a place called Northern Nevada Baseball Club, and they've been around for 6, 7 years, I think. So, and one guy who owns it, he's a ex MLB player, Chris Aguila, who played with the Marlins a little bit and played in Japan a little bit. So,
So I do want to ask you, what kind of led you on that career path, post-playing career?
I was kind of going back and forth the last couple of years, and I reached out to a couple guys I knew, like I know Sam Full, and talked to him a little bit, and talked to Brandon Gomes a little bit, kind of picking their brain a little bit of what how they kind of went about it. And they said pretty much take your time, don't rush into anything, because they had a couple things where they suggested maybe I can do with them, but they're like, don't rush into it. So gave it some thought, and then when I thought about it, I was like, oh, I know so much about analytics and mechanics in that way, and to have to help other kids get better here, to get to college, to get to the pros will be really cool to see.
It's great to hear you had advice from obviously former teammates and former players, because a lot of people I ask either go into coaching or like do a lot of youth baseball coaching, youth baseball performances, and a couple of people decide to do podcasts. Have you ever decided to
Mhm.
start your own podcast? As a former major league player?
No, I'm not really leaning towards that right now. Definitely get a lot more popular, that's for sure.
Especially post COVID. And I it's great to hear that you're set where you're set at. So I do want to ask you a couple some fun questions before we end off this interview. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I want to settle this. You played in Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Milwaukee, Washington, places like that. Who had the best bullpen food and why?
The bullpen food
Yeah,
or
bullpen
just
food.
food in the clubhouse?
Either or.
Either or. Let's see. Can't guess the Dodgers because we didn't really get a lot of food because of the
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah.
The Giants had really good options, and they actually had they had some Hawaiian options too. They had like locomocos and things like that, and they had a chef and cook back there. It was, I'd say, overall theirs was really good and really put together, and it was always consistent, good food.
Well, I graduate college in this spring, and me and some buddies, and hopefully my girlfriend, I can convince her to go out to San Francisco and get some Loco Mocos. So,
Mm-hmm.
I really need some good California food. My next fun question, obviously you had a 13-year MLB career. Best prank you ever saw in the clubhouse, in any clubhouse, which teammate was it and why?
I'm trying to remember which teammate it was. I think it might have been. It was a veteran guy, and it was a young guy who wasn't listening. It was in spring training actually, and we were at Tampa, and they had white socks, but they put just the powdered Kool Aid in their cleats, and
Hmm.
so when they came out, like every time their whole shoes and feet were all really red and stuff. And then the other one is I've seen people, they would put people's cleats in the freezer and freeze them, and then put it back in their locker, get all ripped up. And then I've seen a couple of petty ones to where they would cut their shoelaces every day. And I think that's pretty mean, though.
I mean, you can get shoelaces anywhere. I mean, you're in Tampa Bay, you're in Florida, Arizona during spring training. I mean, they'll defrost. It'll be okay. I think it'll be fine.
Right.
So I do want to ask you. I mean, 13-year MLB career. I mean, I feel like a sense of music changes various locations you go. In San Francisco, I mean, you get a lot of like smooth rock or rap or Denver. I know a lot of people listen to hard rock or country music. I want to ask you, was
Mhm.
there a set playlist or an artist or some songs you listened to that you got hyped before a game?
I actually had one of my um, walkout songs when I came out to was Limp Bizkit My Way, and I had that from like high A to the big leagues, and then for a couple of years I switched it up and let my daughter pick them for a couple of years, and then when I went to San Francisco, I went back to Limp Bizkit My Way, and it was cool. They made like a video when I came in every time. I'm more like a rock alternative,
Hmm.
kind of before the game, and would always switch it up and listen to different things here and there. But rock alternative is probably like the best, like pregame what I would usually listen to.
So, but speaking of pregame, I do want to ask you, a lot of people have pregame rituals, or were those songs or any pregame rituals that you have were superstitious? Are you a superstitious guy throughout your MLB career?
Yeah, I was earlier in the career. I'd always have to like listen to like a certain Limp Bizkit song, like My Way or something, before I'd go out to the bullpen. But towards the end of my career, I would have a routine. In the first inning, I would get in the hot tub and then get out, take a shower, get dressed, and start stretching. And I'd always have like a Red Bull in like the fifth inning. And then if I wasn't going in, then if it was extra innings, I would maybe have another one. But I was never a big guy who drink all like a lot of coffee during the game or anything like
Hmm.
that, or all like the what does everyone drink now, like the pre-workout stuff. A lot of guys
Oh
started
yeah.
drinking that, but no, I was just more strictly like a Red Bull and strictly like routine wise going out to the bullpen and making sure I'm out there at a certain time. So
During my high school baseball days, I was a big creatine guy, and
mm.
I actually have a previous, or somebody gave me a previous experience. Brandon Barnes, he played with the Colorado Rockies for
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit during the 2010s, and he told me that all he did during his minor league career was slug Red Bulls and Rock Stars before every game. So that obviously not you.
No, I wouldn't slug that many of them. Yeah, I played with Brandon Barnes a little bit when I was at Colorado too.
Brandon Barnes, amazing guy,
Hmm.
great guy to talk with. And I actually want to ask you about funniest teammate. I mean, obviously you had a lot of teammates throughout your career, Rockies, San Francisco Dodgers. Do you have a funny teammate moment that kind of sticks out to you that you remember throughout your career?
Let's see. Not really like funny moments sticking out, but there was always guys who keep the clubhouse really loose and like would change things up. And with the Dodgers, it was always Kike Hernandez and Jock Peterson would always keep things super loose and seem like they nothing ever bothered them. And I think that's why they hit so well in like big moment games. And then there would always be a couple guys similar at in different teams who are always easy going, and especially if you're winning, it makes everything way more fun.
I mean, obviously, you have to have some teammates who have an easygoing mentality. I mean, things just can't be like static or boring the whole time. So it's great to hear that. And I'm a big Jock Peterson fan. I actually have his Dodgers jersey somewhere around here. I'm
Yeah.
not too sure. I'm not too sure where it is. I'm not just a Cardinals fan. I mean, I collect other jerseys as well. So I mean,
Okay. Good.
Jock Peterson, great guy. So I do have a final wrap-up question for you, Mr. McGee. I ask this to every baseball player as a final question, and I kind of want to get your perspective on it. So I do want to ask you, what is a question or what is some advice you give to a young ball player trying to make the major leagues or play pro ball?
Um, I think just keep putting in the work, and if you're and even if from little league to college and pros, like you still got to love the game and put in the work. And the more you practice, the better you'll be. But a couple of things have always stuck with me when I was in the minor leagues and even in the big leagues when I would struggle a little bit. They would always say there's always someone behind you who is going to work harder than you. So if you don't work as hard, there's always someone who's going to want to try to take your job, and there's always going to be someone behind you. So you got to put in the work.
To hear that, and I really wish I had that mentality while I was playing high school baseball. Unfortunately, I didn't. I was really focused on hopefully making college ball, but then I kind of stopped midway through. So it's great to hear that side from a major league baseball player
Yeah.
yourself. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this interview. Is there anything you'd like to shout out? Any Instagram handles, socials that we could find you or the viewers could find you as well?
I'm just pretty new to Instagram with my performance pitching NV. I'll post some of this stuff on there, but no other shout outs. So thanks for having me on. I'm pretty new to this podcast stuff. So
I thank you so much for coming on. Again, you're one of my favorite pitchers growing up, and it's great to hear your story throughout the major leagues and minor leagues as well. So I hope you have a fantastic day, and this will be out around well the next 30 minutes when I get this edited down. So I'll make sure to tag you, add you as a collaborator, and wish you best of luck with the performance pitching and everything else in the future.
perfect. Thanks. Thanks again for having me.